Hey, I'm Chef Aaron Fish, and this is Fish Food, where we make tasty, approachable snacks. And today, we're making my take on shrimp and grits with hot buttered polenta. All right, so for our first step, we're gonna multitask today. We're gonna start our polenta. I've got a quart of stock here. You can make your own like me, or you can buy some at the store. They sell it in the dry section, usually by the soups. I'm using chicken stock today, but you can use veg stock or chicken. I would stick with those. I probably wouldn't use beef. And I'm gonna put a stick of butter in there. And then I'm also gonna get some saffron blooming and some oil for a saffron oil we're gonna make. And you can see I only put like maybe 2 tablespoons of oil in there. We're gonna add some olive oil to it later to give it a little bit more depth of flavor after we bloom the spices. So come on over here. I'm gonna get this on the stove. Now with polenta, you wanna do 4 to 1. So it's 4 parts liquid to 1 part of the corn flour. And I got a finer ground corn flour, so it's gonna be a little bit more silky of a texture. It's gonna be really delicious. So I've got both these burners kicking on. This guy I'm gonna throw on high until it brings up to a simmer. This one over here, I'm just gonna let it go over medium heat until it starts to bloom those spices. Now on this front saute pan for step 3, I'm gonna start our turkey andouille ragu that we're gonna make. So I've got some ground turkey sausage. I'm gonna throw it in this pan. We're gonna cook this down, and then we're gonna be adding some other items to it. Okay, our saffron started to bloom, and while the oil's still hot, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil to it. And this is gonna help cool down the oil just a smidge so it stops blooming the spices, but the fragrance and the oils are still gonna be permeating through the oil. All right, so our stock and butter is simmering, and we're ready to go ahead and add our ground corn flour. So we wanna just put a little bit in at a time. It's gonna foam up, that's cool. You don't want to dump it all in at once because that's going to create clumps. You don't want to deal with that. So just a little bit at a time, mix it in. If you can pour it in a steady stream, that's totally cool too. All right. And whisk it up. It's going to look really thin. That's okay. We're going to bring it to a simmer, and then we're going to cover it and let it cook. Polenta's starting to simmer. We're going to turn it down to low and just give it a cover. Let that cook, and we're going to stir it every 5 to 10 minutes. Our ground turkey here is all browned off, so we're gonna transfer this out of the pan. Okay, we're gonna add a little more fat to the pan. And we're gonna start with our onions. What we're making here is we're making an andouille turkey ragu. All right, so for this dish, we're also gonna be making a cilantro emulsion. So I've got a couple heads of cilantro. We're just gonna twist and throw the leaves in there. You can save your stems for, if you're making some salsas or whatever. And I'm also gonna be throwing a head of parsley in there. You can use flat leaf or Italian, doesn't matter. This is gonna help keep it nice and green when we puree it, because the cilantro will kind of turn brown. I'm gonna juice a full lemon in there. And we're gonna put a little bit of Dijon in there. This is gonna help the oil emulsify onto it. Here. And if you've got a plunger for your blender, great. If you don't have a blender, you can use a food processor. Really what we wanna do is just get it starting with the puree. Oil at a time. You don't want to put too much oil in there all at once because it will break, and then you'll have, kind of a half oily sauce and half puree. All right, our onions are sauteing. They're starting to get translucent. We're gonna go ahead and add some garlic. and some roasted red bell pepper. I went ahead and roasted my own, peeled and diced it, but you can get canned roasted peppers if you prefer. If you're not a roasted pepper fan, you can actually also just use some tomatoes, some diced tomatoes or something like that. All right, so our garlic's nice and fragrant. Peppers had a chance to warm up. We're gonna put some tomato paste in here too. Now you can see all this stuff on the bottom of the pan, that's called fond. Once we add our liquid to this, it's gonna pull it all up and it's gonna help flavor everything. It's gonna be really good. So at this moment too, I'm gonna go ahead and add our Spicy Andouille Blend. And you know, this one is spicy, so just put as much or as little as you want to make sure that, you know, it's fitting the heat level temperature that you prefer. Now go ahead and add the turkey back in. And then I got about a cup of light beer. Alrighty, I'm gonna bring this up to a simmer, let it thicken, and taste and adjust. Now, while that's working over here, we have our polentas about ready. So you can see it's nice and thick now. So we're gonna go ahead and add about 2 cups of shredded white cheddar, a full block of cream cheese. And just kind of mash it in there. You can break up the cream cheese into some pieces if you want, but I never do. I just kind of throw it in there and mix it up. I also got, from that lemon that we put into the emulsion, I've got some lemon zest. We're just gonna throw that in here. A little pinch of salt. And then we're gonna be adding our hot bird blend. Once again, this is a habanero blend, so it's gonna be a little spicy as well. So just kind of put as much as you want in there to make sure it fits your heat needs. All right, so for our shrimp for this dish, I'm gonna go ahead and leave the shells on. I did, however, make sure they were butterfried and clean. So we're gonna go ahead and put our lemon pepper seasoning on here. A little olive oil, and a little extra salt. The blend is a little lighter in salt than some of them, and we're just gonna mix it. And you wanna let this sit for 10 to 20 minutes before we go ahead and try to cook these. All right, so our ragu's pretty much there. You can see it's nice and tightened up, the beer's reduced. Make sure you taste for seasoning. You wanna make sure to add some salt to this. And we're gonna pull off the heat. All right, so we've got cast iron on over high heat. I've got this thing screaming hot. Put some oil in there. We're gonna go ahead and put our shell-on prawns in here. Now make sure you lay them down in a single layer. We really want there to be, you know, a good amount of color on the shells and give them an opportunity to sear. All right, I'm gonna add some butter to this too as well, just for us to kind of create a nice little sauce. And these guys are done, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it off, let the butter melt in here. All right, everything's ready. We're gonna go ahead and plate this. Real quick, I'm gonna add some fresh herbs to some blood oranges that I cut up. I'm gonna give these a quick little toss. This is gonna be a nice little fresh element on the salad, as a salad on top. Just let that sit for a second. Try not to splatter it all over the plate. Use a towel to wipe it up. All right, and I'm gonna do this up. Polenta's like really creamy, man, look at this. Amazing. So the goal is to really just kind of glob it on there as best as you can. Put our ragu on here. Next is going to be some of our shrimp. blood orange salad. It's a plating technique. If you've got sauces or something dripping on the plate, you can push it towards whatever you're working on, just help to clean up your side. We can put our sauces on here. We've got our cilantro emulsion. Our saffron oil. Get a little bit on top of the shrimp as well, so you get that flavor and taste. And then I did some fried garlic. So they're like garlic chips. Get this on here too. It's gonna add a nice little crunchy element and really enhance the flavors of this dish. All right, so it's time to dig in, of course. We're gonna get in here. We're gonna pick the perfect prawn. And you know, the one thing about cooking these in the shell is that you are gonna have to get your hands dirty. You're gonna have to get in here and peel them. But I think it gives it a superior flavor. And that butter really soaks through too, so it's good. So we're just gonna we're gonna do this. A little scoopy scoop. The prawn is really good. It has this really charred, delicious flavor, and I really think that the saffron lends itself well to the flavor of that shrimp. And then you've got the cilantro emulsion, the creaminess with that flavor hog, and the polenta is so good. And that freshness from the blood orange, the herbs, the crispy garlic, and that andouille turkey ragu. Man, this is delicious. I'm gonna have another bite. And that is delicious fish food.